Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Cultist, back again with another logic video. Today, we're talking about the subject of cell shading, and here's a early look at what we're going to be creating today. I should mention from the very start that this method was not originally created by me. It was actually something I saw posted on Twitter at the time, now X, by an individual called Chris Tattooer. But I just wanted to give him a little shout out because it's a great method. I don't know, I think I might have changed it a little bit from what he originally had, but I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But let's get down to business. First thing I would like to mention right off the bat concerning the world settings. Now, fog, well, it's not necessarily something that's going to interfere with our business. I find it kind of muddies the visuals a bit. So I've set the fog to extreme range as far as it'll go, pretty much. I've also made the background high contrast, like extremely bright, because I think that will also aid in our effect. You notice, I mean, it works fine if you want like a darker level, like, I don't know, you're inside the volcano or something. But the background lighting does affect it. And also, you know, whether your background is visible can affect it, like if you have a background image. Not very much, though, I'd say. And the horizon definition probably affects it a wee bit, but again. Now, the lighting can kind of make things look blown out, but, you know, having it at 0 is okay, whatever you want. Having lighting doesn't hurt that much. Now let's get to the grade and effects. I've got it set pretty bright to 100% to aid in the contrast, which I've set to 22%. You could turn it down again if you want a darker level. If you want something really bright, turn it up to 200. But I'd say having it just a little bright, 72%. You could also mess around with these to create different effects. You know, it might help. Ugh, that's downright creepy right there. But yeah, some of this stuff helps sell the effect extra. There's like a high contrast method right there, but we're not going to be messing with those. We're going to be talking about the main business at hand. I also find turning off the bloom helps a lot. It looks really weird if the bloom is high. It looks more clean and crisp if it's down to 0%. Lens flare might not be bad. I don't think that would affect it too much. But that's all concerning the sun and sky and world settings, which if you want to know where those are, oops. They're in camera and lighting, grade and effects, sun and sky. Just thought I'd mention that real quick before we get started. Now on with the business. First, you just take L1 and X, scope inside your puppet, and stamp out a chip, which we are going to call Shadow. If you have difficulty aligning the chip, you can use Grid Snap to stamp it out. And if you're having difficulty finding the chip, it's here in Logic and Processing and in Gadgets. Once it's stamped out, then stamp out a piece of blank material and set it to non-collidable and non-visible. You can also reduce the detail of this stamped shape if you want to. This one's much higher detail, as you can see. Just use the detail editor, set to reduce, and go R2, and you can reduce it. Then put a chip on that block. And we're going to call this face logic. Stamp out a look at rotator. Don't pay attention to any of these wires or ports. We'll get to those later. Set it to maximum rotation strength, maximum overall dampening. Do not fill in this void. Leave it as it is, empty. Set the speed for the rotation to as high as it can go. And set the max distance as high as it can go, just to be safe. Next, stamp out a follower. By the way, if you want to know where both of these can be found, it's in movers and output. Stamp out a follower. This one we are going to set to follow a tag called cell mount. A tag which I have put inside the puppet's logic, which can be opened with L1 and X. Here is the tag. If you press L1 and square, you can open this little menu and rename the tag. I've called it cell mount. Make sure you get the capitalization correct so that it matches this exactly. I've also put it about here on his chest at this height so that when the follower is active, this block should move to that position. Alright, now that that's all taken care of... Oh, another thing. Make sure that you use grid snap to make it so Z axis is facing this away and not to the right. Usually when I stamp out these tags, they're always facing the wrong direction. A quick example right here. Shouldn't be like this, should be like that. Okay. That's all taken care of. Now we're going to go back to our little box here. Little free-floating chip. The one called Shadow. And you're going to stamp out a global settings piece of logic, which is here in gameplay and gear, right there. Stamp it out, and then press L1 and square to open its tweak menu. Go to this next setting, just tap X on the, that's how you swap through them. Then there's camera transform, which is what we want. Take a wire from it over to the look at rotator and put it in this. Just grab this little thing with X and put it in here, which is target position. Then go to the look at rotator, open up its little menu, and up here you'll see this thing called affected objects. Take a wire from there and just press X on shadow to connect that. So basically it will be affected by the orientation of the look at rotator. This tag will rotate with this, now that we've done that. Also, go to the follower, find the same setting, affected objects, and connect it to the shadow. This means it will follow our player wherever they go, along with this block, which is perfect for what we're trying to do. Now that that's all done, we gotta create the cell shaded effect, which I have done using text displayers. If you turn them off, you could actually see what everything looks like without the effect. I'll try to get it over here so it doesn't interfere with anything. There we are. That's without the effect. Now here's it with, as we saw earlier. And if you want to find the text displayers, they are in here, which is, I believe, movers and outputs again. Text displayer. And you just set one on here. Go ahead and open this up with L1 and square. Now I've typed GGGGG out. In order to make it nice and wide, here's what it would, just be a bunch of G's. And I've set their opacity to 0. And I've created this dark blue shade to act as our shadow, and made it slightly, turned down the opacity just a little bit to about 69%. I've then set it on in-scene and sticker mode, and I've set the depth to about 72.2%. You can also put it on allow rotation, and basically that will allow you to steer this thing around. I don't advise having grid snap when you're doing that, but this is what it looks like when you're messing around with it. Just to get the right angle that you want. And that's what I've done for the shadow. Now I've created a secondary layer, which I'm going to up the opacity on it real quick, because it's actually very low, just to show you this other layer that I've created. And I've technically made it lighter, so that it will stand out from the shadow, but make the overall effect more uniform. You can call this like the mid-range of the light spectrum. It's at 20%. Basically the same settings as the shadow, except the angle is different. I've kind of moved it so that it's more across the body, covers most of the blank space. You can see right here the angle I've chosen. Finally, I've created this little highlight that's like bright white at the top here. It's slightly got the brightness turned up to 8%. It's 13% text box opacity because it'd be really bright. But yeah, it's also tinged yellow to kind of, emulate the sun. Honestly though, if you don't want this, I think the effect still looks great without it. Like, that's some pretty good cell shading without that extra little bit. I just thought I'd mention it in case you're interested, in recreating an effect like that. But, this is all for naught if we don't see what this looks like in action. So let's go ahead and test it. As you can see, the shadow actually changes position based off the camera. And I think it does a pretty good job of simulating the cel-shaded effect. Now you may be wondering, Jimmy, what if I want the shadow to not be dynamic? Say I want it to only face the direction of the sun. Well, all you gotta do is turn off this thing, because this is basically what causes the rotation. This will keep everything following. And this way, it stays in the same position, so if you want things to stay behind, stay the same way, but the shadow remains only on one side. Deleting the look at rotator accomplishes this. Although I would advise getting rid of this highlight too, because he'll look a little bit too, blown out on the other side. I kind of prefer it where it always faces the camera. It makes it more obvious that he's cel-shaded, to me. Anyway, there is one little other thing I ought to mention. You can actually use different effects to change the surface of the character to match better with this. I've actually gone and made him waxy, rough wax specifically. The shininess and roughness is set to positive 100% and negative waxiness and metalness, negative 100%. Which you can easily do by just going to the little gizmo coat mode, then go to apply finish, and then go to rough wax, and you can just press R2 until you get what you want. But that helps with the effect. I could show you what it looks like with some of the others. Here's shiny metal. Oh, wait a minute. We should be scoped out. We're only... Yeah, be scoped out of the puppet when you do this, because otherwise you're only affecting one part. Here's shiny metal. Not bad. Makes it look kind of plasticky, though. And here's just rough with no waxiness. A little bit darker, fuller colors, higher contrast. I think probably rough wax is the best way to go, personally. Wax is really good for getting a kind of cartoony effect, I find. Now there is one little final thing that can maybe up the look of your cel-shaded effect. I've gone through him previously, and I've set every sculpt object that comprises his form to not emit light. And you may be wondering, why did you do that, Jimmy? Because you can actually use coat mode's glow to create a more cartoony effect. Like if you want him to really stand out, just use glow and just press R2, and you'll get this high contrast look. The downside is, even if you're in a dark environment, he'll glow, but that can be compensated for. I mean, if you just tinge things, in most cartoons and cel-shaded stuff, dark places are not actually dark anyway, so it kind of works out. Just tint things so that they look kind of bluey, and people will think it's dark. You could also turn down the background shininess a bit to help give the impression of darkness. But I think this glow effect can accentuate the cartooniness of it, so I would definitely, I would definitely consider that as an option. Let's see what happens if we turn it up real high. Okay, that's a little too much. That's like a ghost. But keep it in mind, just a little bit of glowiness, about 30% maybe, does kind of help with the effect. Anyway, hopefully you found this helpful if you're creating your own cel-shaded game of any kind. Thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts, leave a comment, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. That's all for now. Goodbye.